And Americans are now facing higher prices. Some examples: milk, honey, smartphones, liquor, and even wigs and fake beards.
Just when Americans are most concerned about affordability, what better time to relaunch a trade war with Canada? Hey guys, welcome back to the show, your home for independent and nonpartisan commentary and analysis on politics, media, internet culture, and more. We are going to check in for the latest update. Buckle up, because it's a wild, wild ride with President Trump's ongoing trade war with Canada that he decided to reignite this week. And Canada has now unveiled their retaliatory tariffs, all as we head into the basically final stretch here into a midterm election where the number one issue that for voters is affordability and the cost of living, or at least one of the top issues for most voters. And what better way to help address it than to hike massively tariffs on Canada, where we trade a ton with and get lots of important stuff from, and then they tariff us back, and then we all enjoy winning, so much winning, getting tired of winning. Oh, okay. Well, let's watch a report from CNN breaking down the latest developments between President Trump and the Canadian government as they amp up the trade war. Let's watch.
The U.S. and Canada sliding deeper and deeper into a trade war. Canada says it will match President Trump's 50% tariffs, dollar for dollar. Last-ditch negotiations fell apart over the weekend, and Americans are now facing higher prices. Some examples: milk, honey, smartphones, liquor, and even wigs and fake beards. And just a short time ago, President Trump raised the stakes, posting this, quote, "On January 1st, 2027, tariffs on all cars, trucks, both large and small, automotive parts, and steel will be increased to 50%. Build in the United States, and there are zero tariffs." And
so this is interesting because it's so actually revealing of how incomplete and incoherent Trump's understanding of tariffs can be at times. He says, build in the United States and there are no tariffs. And then that is in the same post announcing an increase to the already existing tariffs on things like steel. So if you build things in the United States, a lot of the parts and materials you use don't all come from the United States, and steel is a great example. So the steel tariffs actually do hurt people who build things in the United States because the costs of the goods and materials that they use goes up. And so that's why a lot of these tariffs have proven very harmful, including his steel tariffs in the past. They do protect some jobs in domestic U.S. steel production, but they end up hurting a lot more companies and costing more jobs at all the different industries and manufacturers, like automobile manufacturers or all sorts of different manufacturers who use steel. And a lot of steel doesn't come from the United States. A lot of it comes from places like Canada. And so he's directly contradicting himself already. His understanding of all of these things is so deeply flawed. But now don't worry, guys, he's posting memes about renaming Lake Ontario. So that will really help. We'll get into that in just a moment, but let's watch the rest of this clip here.
End quote. Canadian leaders say this tariff fight is damaging the very long relationship between the neighboring countries and their people. CNN's Kevin Liptak is over at the White House for us. What more are you learning right now, Kevin? This is very worrisome.
Right, and you can see how this is escalating now very quickly as both sides promise retaliation after the U.S. imposed those 50% tariffs on $20 billion of Canadian goods. Mark Carney, the Canadian Prime Minister, promising to match that dollar for dollar. Now President Trump threatening to impose those 50% tariffs on autos, but also steel and automotive parts on January 1st. Now, I think the question now is whether we're in the escalate to de-escalate phase of all of this. President Trump, at least for his part, does not sound as if he's in a de-escalatory mood. He said that Canada had been ripping off the United States for years, that they were among the worst nations in the world to deal with, and that the United States doesn't need Canada, they need us, which is quite a striking way to talk about not only a neighbor of the United States, but also one of its closest trading partners. Now, both sides of this are offering differing points of view about how all of this fell apart. This morning, the U.S. Trade Representative Jamieson Greer said that Canada had imposed last-minute demands. And Carney, in fact, said that it was the U.S. who imposed last-minute demands and said that it called into question the reliability of any deal. Now, the 50% tariffs that went into place over the weekend, they really only account for a small fraction of trade with Canada, about 5%, in fact, but it is a consumer-facing list. It includes things like Christmas ornaments, hockey sticks, fishing rods, dog leashes, and muzzles. So that could take a major toll on exposed sellers. And it's not really clear at this point how all of this ends. At this point, there are no scheduled negotiations to try and reach a full-scale trade deal with Canada.
Yeah, I mean, this is an important point that it's not going to change everything overnight, but it's just a little percentage increase in cost on things that consumers are facing. And then you're also going to have an increase in costs on the things that get hit with retaliatory tariffs from Canada, which they have now announced. So here's the headline from a Wall Street Journal on that one. Canada targets U.S. metals, foods, motorcycles in retaliatory tariff package. New duties range from 15% to 50% on about $20 billion of goods designed to protect domestic firms' market share. Canada said Tuesday it intends to impose tariffs of up to 50% on roughly 700 products as the acrimony between Ottawa and Washington escalates following the collapse of trade talks. Officials said that effective September 8th, or the day after Labor Day, Canada plans to place tariffs ranging between 15 and 50% on about $20 billion of goods, or roughly 7% of total U.S. imports. Among the products targeted by Canada are U.S. steel, aluminum, motorcycles, washers and dryers, chainsaws, processed steels, processed cheese, clams, and frozen octopus. U.S. steel and aluminum were already subject to a 25% tariff, but that will now double to 50%. So this is going to affect Canadian consumers with higher prices, but it will hurt U.S. companies that sell a lot of their products to Canada. So that will have a detrimental effect as well. And it may just escalate and escalate even further. And again, the timing here really could not be worse. We are heading into a midterm election where Republicans are on the defensive about the economy and the cost of living. And President Trump is ramping up a trade war with one of our closest allies and neighbors listen, yes, I'm sure there are real trade issues and disputes with them, but they are not the great Satan of international trade. And he treats them as if they're the most horrific people to ever engage with. And what's so darkly ironic about it is that actually our existing baseline of trade with Canada mostly is bound by the deal that Trump negotiated in his first term, called the USMCA. So the terms that he claims are so unacceptable and we're getting ripped off that justify this drastic escalation at the worst possible time are literally his standards in many cases that he negotiated for just a few years ago during his first term. So the whole thing is absolutely dysfunctional. The timing could not be worse. It is going to lead to increased costs on the margins. It will hurt U.S. businesses in many different ways, and he's doing it all. But don't worry, guys. The memes are flowing. As, for example, President Trump tweeted out today, the United States is giving serious consideration to changing the name of Lake Ontario to Lake America, in that we don't expect to be doing much business with Ontario any longer. Thank you for your attention to this matter. President Donald J. Trump. This is crazy for so many reasons, but wait till you see his next post. He's now posting memes on social media that show Lake Ontario renamed Lake America. I'm sorry, guys, but this is so deeply unserious. This is so emperor without clothes. What do you mean you are causing economic warfare with one of our neighbors and allies at the exact time Americans are most concerned about the cost of living and affordability, and you're posting memes about renaming Lake Ontario as if that's what? Some sort of win? As if anyone cares? As if that owns them. It doesn't even make sense, by the way, because Ontario, Canada is named after the lake. The lake is not named after Ontario, Canada. So it how do I have to explain that the president meme here doesn't even make sense? What are we doing? He genuinely comes off as so childish and unhinged in this kind of thing. And yet we're supposed to believe he'll negotiate the best deal. Clearly not, because it's just escalating and getting worse at the most inopportune time. And the idea that we're just going to not be doing much business with Ontario is just so deeply unserious. As Professor Ian Bremmer pointed out on X, a lot of Democrat and Republican governors will take strong exception to this. 19 U.S. states trade more with Ontario than they do with any foreign country except in Canada, of course. So obviously this has no basis in reality. The idea that we're going to cut economic ties with Ontario entirely or anything like that. And again, we're just left with the ramblings and ravings and meme postings of this deranged guy who's got a finger on the nuclear button. What could possibly go wrong? I don't know. I'm very concerned about this, both for what it means for consumers and the economy, but also just what it says generally about the president and the way he is leading and governing our country. I find it deeply concerning, but that's just my take. You guys will have to let me know what you think in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel if you aren't yet. Do hit the like button while you're at it, and we'll be back with more real soon.